Thank you. As far as first priorities, as mayor, it's a little different role. As all of you know, no matter what the results of this election are, 40% of our city council will be new people. We'll have 2 new members. And my job as mayor would be to assimilate those 2 members into the council, introduce them to the staff, make sure that their concerns and their priorities get a fair hearing and are reflected in the agenda that comes out of the city council and the city manager's office in the first months of 2008. So that really is, for the mayor, the top priority. The other priority is we had a flush of money as a result of this sales tax agreement, a historic agreement that allowed us to transfer the airport to the county in exchange for, and we also got a share of the new 3/4 point sales tax. That's what's allowed us to cut the tax levy by $2.6 million in the last 2 years. That's good news. But the priority is, now that we've hired extra cops and engineers and planners to try to deal with the growth, now we have to try to hold the line so that the tax rate doesn't start creeping up again, because that's going to contribute to the image that we're a high tax, bad for business community. I agree on the issue of public safety. We have to continue to keep tabs on the police department. I had the pleasure last month of watching 9 officers join our police academy. I think that bodes well for the safety of Watertown. And I agree with everyone else that we have to be willing to look beyond our boundaries and start forging alliances that allow government to serve people. A lot of times we think government just sort of serves the corporate entity called the City of Watertown. We're here to provide services for people, and if that means buses go beyond the city limits, so be it. Thank you.
Well, number one, I really do believe that it's important that we have priorities, and so that was a very good question. First and foremost, I do have to agree with Mr. Butler. At the top of my list is this issue of safety within the community. You know, the great philosopher Socrates once said, people come together in communities in order to live, but they remain together in order to live the good life. And I think that there are a number of hurdles, there are a number of things that are preventing us all across the board, all across the city, regardless of where you live. There are some things that are preventing us from living the good life. And one of those things is the issue of crime and drug trafficking. I was speaking to a lady not long ago who lives not far from here, and she said that she really feels held hostage within her home. She feels like she cannot allow her children to go out and play because there's a drug dealer that lives 2 or 3 houses down from her. You know, that is something that we really need to tackle. It's something that we need to address. And so, again, first and foremost, I believe the main priority is this issue of safety within the community. And as I've said before in other forums, I really believe with all my heart the reason why we have a problem with crime the way we do today is because we do have a drug problem. And so what I want to be able to do is I want to give our police force every tool that they need to be able to tackle this. The chief has said in the past that he believes that the Metro Jefferson Task Force needs to grow in size, and I agree with that. You know, often in the past we were hearing about meth labs being broken up, and we haven't heard a lot about that recently, and it's because the meth lab makers, they've become innovative. Now they're making their, you know, horrible concoctions out of the trunks of cars. They've become elusive. And so our police force does an excellent job, but they need more support. And that's something that I would be prepared to do. So first and foremost is this issue of safety. And then also tied with that issue of safety is this issue of sex offenders within our community. You know, it wasn't too long ago, and I know many of you heard about it because you were either there at the council meeting or you perhaps saw it on television or read about it in the paper. We had some residents come to the Watertown City Council and make us aware that there were sex offenders living in hotels, in residential areas. Many of us on the council, it was the first time we'd ever heard of that practice, and we immediately, I think all of us agreed it was irresponsible and dangerous. Well, my philosophy is not pass the buck. I believe that we need to do something as a community. Now, you can shoot holes in any legislation that comes along. There are loopholes. But there's another great quote that I like that says, when good men do nothing, evil triumphs. And I believe we need to look at communities like Ogdensburg. We need to look at communities like Cicero and Syracuse and other places that have actually put legislation on the books Because if we can even thwart one offense against a child, I believe it's worth it. And then second priority, I believe, is we need to become Watertown the innovative. And what I mean by that is we need to have a new approach as to how we deal with issues within our community. And I think a couple of the council candidates kind of touched upon this. So often we run out and spend $50,000 to get someone's opinion on how we should solve a problem or what path we should go down. You know, $50,000, it may appear small in the scope of our big city budget, but $50,000 is a lot of money to a family and even to an individual. And so what I would like to do is rely on the people within our community. I believe we have a number of talented people within our community who have expertise in certain areas. And that's why I have proposed putting together citizen coalitions, a mayor's advisory committee, where we can start getting away from these consultants and start looking to our people to solve the problems. Also, I think that we can look to our people to solve other issues and challenges within the community. For example, and I brought a photo along with me because I know not everyone has the ability or the desire to climb all of the steps leading up to the clock tower at the First Baptist Church. But many of you recall the situation with Mike Dean and the broken clock in downtown Watertown that's often referred to as the town clock. You know, there were some that wanted to run right out and spend $170,000 or whatever it was. And I really believe that we need to start looking at our local talent. There are people here that are gifted and they want to give back to our community. And I think there are other examples that we can implore like this to help save the taxpayer money. Because